Every job has its perks, but being a Ferrari Formula One driver definitely has some of the best perks. Eight-time Grand Prix winner Charles Leclerc can attest to that after receiving one of the best perks any employee could ask for. A custom-ordered Ferrari hand-delivered from its new racing division directly to Leclerc in Monaco. Coming straight from the factory in Maranello, Italy, Leclerc's new Ferrari SF90XX Stradale looks like one of those concept cars that never actually comes to market. Painted in matte black with Leclerc's racing number in red trim, the car itself is an absolute masterpiece, with over 1,000 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of just 2 seconds. It's also pricey, obviously. Yet Ferrari has already sold out of all 799 units at a retail price of nearly $900,000, providing Ferrari with over $700 million in revenue from just one product. While you or I may get excited about unlimited PTO or 401k matching, million-dollar supercars are just one of the many benefits of being Ferrari's top Formula One driver. But more importantly, it's also the perfect example of how Ferrari uses its status in Formula One as a profitable marketing channel to engineer fandom that continuously sets sales records. The truth is, Ferrari was never actually meant to be a car company. In fact, Enzo Ferrari was a racing driver at heart who really only started selling cars in the late 1940s so that he could fund his racing team, Scuderia Ferrari. Enzo started producing cars that were unlike anything else on the market, with the small, unique open-top Barchetta car, helping to separate themselves from the competition. Thanks to that car's success, Enzo was able to pump all of the money from Ferrari's first year of sales back into his racing team. And let's just say, that investment paid off. Ferrari's racing team won the 24-hour of Le Mans back in 1949 and took home their first ever Formula One win just 2 years later, winning the British Grand Prix at Silverstone in front of 50,000 fans. By most measures, this would have been considered a massive success. Car racing is an expensive sport, and the fact that Enzo Ferrari could design and pay for race-winning cars within just a few years was at that point almost unthinkable. But while everyone was impressed with his ability to build a competitive racing team, Enzo quickly realized that he was actually creating an entirely new business model. Let's think about it this way. What are the world's most iconic luxury brands today? Rolex? Gucci? Louis Vuitton? There are plenty of other answers that would be acceptable, and Ferrari would definitely be one of them. However, the main difference between those companies and Ferrari is marketing. Cox Automotive executive publisher Carl Brauer explains this difference perfectly.
We live in a world that's only more and more noisy all the time. I like to say there are more and more things going on. There are more and more items competing for your attention. And in a world like that, if you've got a brand that can stand out, a brand that is universally recognized and can kind of step through and rides above that noise, you've got a very valuable brand. And Ferrari in the automotive world would be a perfect example of one of those brands.
While most luxury brands spend millions of dollars annually on complex marketing campaigns and sponsorships, Ferrari went a different route and spends a grand total of $0 on advertising. Instead, Ferrari built its brand through emotion. You see, Enzo Ferrari spent decades almost exclusively obsessing over the performance of his Scuderia Ferrari racing team, because he knew that if he built fast cars and those cars won races, Formula One would provide him with a big enough platform to organically build fandom and eventually help him sell those cars without having to rely on celebrity endorsements or commercial jingles. It wasn't just a good bet by Enzo, it quite literally changed how brands think about marketing today. Remember my video and podcast on Red Bull's revolutionary marketing plans last month? Yeah, they stole that idea from Ferrari. But to make the marketing plan work as well as it has, Ferrari had to find success in Formula One. Well, let's just say mission accomplished, with Ferrari being known as the most successful team in Formula One history. That resume includes more race wins, more drivers' championships, and more constructors' championships than any other team. These results, combined with Ferrari being F1's longest-standing team, have turned a car company into a cultural movement that's difficult to explain or replicate. To put it simply, Ferrari essentially owns the entire country of Italy. Don't believe me? Check out the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. All of the shops are closed on race day, and tens of thousands of fans flood the track with comically large Ferrari flags during podium celebrations. It's not just Italy that has Ferrari fever either. They're consistently ranked as the most popular team in Formula One, with millions of fans in countries around the world. From the US to China, from Germany to Brazil, Ferrari is an international obsession. What's even more amazing, though, is that most of these fans will never actually be able to afford a Ferrari, with entry-level options starting at $250,000, and that's if you can even get an allocation. Clearly, though, that doesn't matter to Ferrari because their road business creates demand by limiting supply. They only sell about 13,000 cars every year, which seems to be the sweet spot for luxury car brands. To put that into perspective, that's double the amount of inventory Aston Martin sells, but a fraction of what Mercedes and Alpine sell each calendar year. This model works so well because Ferrari still lives by their original mission statement. Building fast cars that win races automatically creates demand. For example, Mercedes used to brag in its annual reports that the German car company received 25% of all television time during their championship-winning seasons in Formula One. While this might seem like a throwaway line to impress shareholders, it's actually really important because that TV time is worth more than $5 billion in advertising value, thanks to F1 averaging 90 million viewers each race weekend. That would be like if Budweiser sponsored a Super Bowl team instead of making a Super Bowl ad, and if that Super Bowl was played 24 times a year. This is precisely why Ferrari was comfortable spending $500 million annually on their Formula One team, losing tens of millions each year as a result. They didn't care about the financial losses for one part of their business if it allowed for massive financial gains in the other part. However, even that dilemma has changed for the better in recent years. In 2021, Formula One introduced a cost cap in an attempt to promote parity across the sport. It's the same idea as a salary cap in football or basketball. If all teams have to keep their spending below a certain amount, it takes away advantages that richer teams have over less well-off franchises. While the cost cap tightened the field to a certain extent, the cost cap also allowed higher spending teams like Ferrari to cut their expenses in half. The Ferrari F1 team now generates a $50 million annual profit, boosting its overall value to $3 billion, according to Sportico. This has effectively turned Ferrari's once costly marketing channel into a profit center for the brand. The setup between Ferrari's Formula One team and its road car company is something that many teams have tried to copy. Mercedes, Alpine, McLaren, and Aston Martin all come to mind. And you could argue Red Bull has been trying to take a page from this playbook as well. Ferrari's on-track performance drives everything for the brand. The Ferrari F1 team has already won 5 races this season and currently sits second in the team standings, leading to a 9-month net profit this year of $1.24 billion. That's an 18% increase over last year. Sure, Ferrari shipments were down 2% last quarter to 3,383 cars, but the luxury brand is doing just fine, making more than $100,000 in profit per car sold annually. Now, that's not a bad profit margin if you ask me. And their business model also ensures that they always have demand for new products. Here's CNBC's Robert Frank announcing Ferrari's all-time high in stock price last year.
Ferrari shares hitting an all-time high yesterday, up 50% for the year so far. Its market cap now over $60 billion. It's worth more than Ford or GM. Ford and GM, keep in mind, make more than 4 million cars a year. Ferrari only sells about 13,000. Now, the reason for that valuation? Faster growth and bigger profits. The gross margin on a Ferrari right now is over 50%. That's more than twice of Tesla's gross margins, more like a Louis Vuitton or Gucci than a car company.
When asked about their business model, Ferrari CEO Benedetto Vigna said, "We always said we give priority to the quality of revenue, not to the quantity." This isn't just marketing jargon either. Ferrari's stock price is up more than 150% over the last 5 years, with an $80 billion market cap as of 2024. For comparison, other F1 brands like Mercedes, Alpine Renault, and Aston Martin have all seen their stock decline during that period. And while it seems like things couldn't get any better for Ferrari, the good times are only going to get better. 7-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton is joining the Ferrari F1 team next year. Hamilton, with 38 million followers on Instagram, is easily one of the world's most famous athletes, on par with guys like Michael Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Tom Brady. His presence alone should help Ferrari sell more sponsorships, merchandise, and yes, more cars too. Ferrari is clearly doing things the right way, taking advantage of free marketing Formula One offers to attract customers and improve its brand image. Now, if we can all find a way to convince our bosses to send us custom luxury cars as a thank you for a job well done, the world will be a much better place.